should have been friends with your son.
I could have. I just was busy. I forgot.
No problem. Not mine.
Okay. I like this chest part. Oh, good. You don't either.
So, right.
Yeah.
I'm good. That's all that was.
Like it's not rolling now. It's rolling right now.
I mean, it's not on the internet right now, but we're recording.
Give it a couple minutes. No, where do you care about a preference? Or leads first?
I don't. What do you, whatever you
Nothing makes sense. Okay. All right. We'll get going. I'll mic you stuff.
As soon as I press. I kept worrying I wouldn't recognize Laura.
I did say your name.
Did Ryan ask you guys to inscribe a copy for the center?
No, but I will.
I will ask you to do that, but also one for me.
Okay.
I'm gonna press this button and then I'm gonna leave and not come back. Ever. No, I didn't want you to think I was gonna keep getting in the way.
Where are you gonna start?
I'm gonna be selling books or that starts.
Oh, I didn't show my back. Were we supposed to show our back?
Well, I know you're vaccinated, so I didn't ask you. But yes, I was checking at the door.
I am vaccinated. But like I'm not boosted though yet. You get your booster?
No, I just found out I'm totally eligible, so I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I found that out today.
Yeah. I got
Very
it.
excited. I would like to not get sick.
My husband got his booster yesterday and he feels awful today, but it'll pass.
Did you get your bangs redone since yesterday?
I got them this day.
They look great.
Thank you. I was trying to get the poet look.
You look like a poet. Funny thing though, I'm pretty sure you'll always look like a poet. Because you are one.
So what is the poet?
I'm just joking. I don't even know. I know, right?
So besides writing,
I'm trying so hard.
I work so in
The never leaving the house thing.
I'm in charge of the education for the kids. Yeah, it's a really good job. We're lucky to have it. But I have two boys that they're
Check.
This is mine. I don't know about any others. Oh, he gave it to you.
Welcome, everybody. How's it going?
Good.
Good to see everybody. Very good to see everybody inside of Ross Talks. Good to see everybody that I can't see who's out in the ether. Welcome to you as well. My name is Ryan Collins. I'm the executive director of the Midwest Writing Center. Far more. Thanks. Far more importantly, tonight I'm the host of the SPECTRA reading series, and I couldn't be happier to be that guy. I've so missed standing on this stage. It was the first time we've done an event indoors here since at least 2019. I don't even remember what it was. It was a while ago. We've been outside a bunch. It's been beautiful, and we're so grateful. We're always really grateful to be here. Can we give it up for the venue? One time for us? You're the best to eat and drink and do all the things. And you all who weren't here, come here and do those things when you get here and tip generously. Thank you. Also, I'm really excited because tonight we get to, we've been working on more publications this year at the Writing Center than we normally do, which has been really great. We have an anthology, which is forthcoming soon, about surviving 2020 and all the disasters that came with that in the Quad Cities and in areas surrounding. So we will have that soon. I promise. It's going to be a real thing. There's a proof copy there that you definitely don't want to read, but looks really pretty. You can pre-order it. But tonight we're here to celebrate the initial releases for the Foster-Stahl chapbook series for the Writing Center that honors two people that we miss dearly, who are really integral into everything that we do. Mary Foster, who was a longtime educator, board member, you know, sort of early guiding light of the Writing Center and the board once we started to get, once the center started to come together and start to have plan on having a physical location, which was in, I believe, 2003, Island, 1980. So it was a long track. And now we're back in Rock Island. We're in the Rock Island Public Library, which is a couple blocks away. We have the best neighbors because Ross is among our neighbors, and it's just good to be in Rock Island, walk around, a lot of cool, interesting stuff like Ragged Records and Future Apple Tree and all kinds of good eats and stuff like that. So, and then the other person that the series is named after, Dick Stahl, who was the inaugural poet laureate of the Quad Cities, right around the time we opened up. Actually, it was 2001 and 2003. Right? And we're very fortunate to have his wife, Helen Stahl, who's here tonight. Helen, thanks so much for being here. You know, we worked with Dick on publications. He taught workshops for us. I mean, there is no writing scene around here, I think, without the work of people like Dick Stahl. So we're really excited to honor them, and we're really excited to have these books in the world. Laura's book, Aubrey's book. I'm so glad we have them. They just came yesterday, or they did not come. Sarah Algatian, our intrepid program and ops specialist, made it go. She went up to Hiawatha, Iowa to pick them up from the printer. Thank you, Sarah, for making them happen. Yes, please applaud Sarah. We're all very grateful for you, none more than me, because I work with you all the time. So thanks for making all of this possible. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a little news and notes, and then we have a brief open mic. If there are any, I got one reader I got to write down, but I think we have one open mic spot. So if there's somebody out there that burning to read, now's the time to let us know. And then, so we're going to do a few brief, like 5-minute open mic spots, because we figured we should open up the floor. Like, we're back here, and it's good to be back here, and we want to open up the floor to our friends and neighbors and some of our terrific local writers. So we're happy that we have some names on that list, and then we'll get to Laura's reading, Aubrey's reading. Yeah, just a couple of quick things coming up about that we have coming up for the center. Like I said, we have an anthology coming out. You can pre-order it back there or online at our website at www.nwc.org. We have a book binding workshop, which is a thing we've never done before. We have very limited space for that workshop, and it is kind of filling up pretty quickly. It's December 11th. Thanks, so like 1 month from today. Nifty. So cool. So it's December 11th. It's going to be a hybrid workshop. But it will probably be cooler to be there in person and to do the actual bookmaking with the person who knows how to make the books, who is Andrew Jacobs, who learned how to make the books, I believe, at St. Ambrose University, from people who are cool with Joseph Lappy. So that's a thing to check out and dig. Speaking of Joseph Lappy, he's also organizing a reading in cooperation with the Writing Center, where a cool, really super cool person, Aubrey Ryan, will be reading. Additional super cool person, Elena Vallejo, will be reading.
And Ryan
And
Collins.
some other dude will also be reading briefly. And I'll be reading one poem, actually a poem that I wrote for Ben's mom. So yeah, so that'll be a thing. That's at Galvin Fine Arts next Tuesday at 6:30. It's free and open. Wear your masks, be responsible. Thank you all for being responsible and doing a little bit now. I'll put mine back on. I'm not jibber jabbering away. We also a lot of events for the anthology with supply chain issues. Like the book is a big, huge launch party like we like to do, like we were able to do for the Atlas this summer, where we had a bunch of people outside. It was cool, it was easy. Now it is a bit cold and a bit dark and a bit foreboding for such things. But we're going to be doing a lot of like one-off events around the Quad Cities. I know there's one that we're working on with Moline Public Library for contributors from Moline. We're going to do one in Rock Island for contributors from Rock Island. There's one coming up in Clinton. I'm hoping we're going to be able to do one at Bettendorf and Davenport and other cool places like that. So keep your eyes peeled, subscribe to our newsletter list. You can do that back there. Check that out. If you do that, we'll send you a free ebook. Yeah, I think that's it. So we're going to get in the open mics. Open mic readers, we're going to do about like 5 minutes. And I can't remember who's going to go first. Oh yeah, I do know who's going to go first. But in accordance with established Spectra tradition, I go first, so nobody has to go first. We don't have to worry about those things. So I'm going to read one poem, very short poem, quickly. Yeah, it's a true story, and I kind of wrote it in part from my cat, who's no longer with us, who died last year. His name was Falstaff. It's called Speaking with an Old Friend on Good Friday. It's also about people who are flirting with being anti-vaxxers, which we can all laugh at, I think. Sorry, out in the world, but we're laughing at you. Anyway, speaking with an old friend on Good Friday. The phone rings and no conspiracy awaits on the other end other than grief and a hard sun pouring over our catching up, but to where and with whom as yet unclear, trying to hear a reflection of myself in the voice of a friend, or at least once a friend, now who can be sure what that means in what space, screen to screen or voice and face to face. The tired of a whole year without friends embraces the room's cold light with a lump in a throat that hasn't cleared since so many passed. My best friend John, who wasted and died in my arms, and how not to be reminded of grief with every breath. Anymore, each breath feels less clean, like the handshakes and hugs once so freely given to people we've never clearly seen. Until at some remove, how chilling the sunlight, when singing around me like a bell, a tongue clanging on and on with a single lonely note. If you still want to read and you haven't signed up, you can find me there. That one person that we have a spot for. Our first reader, I'm so happy to introduce. I miss doing this here so much. Please welcome Therese, guys. Therese.
My mic's up there, right? I eat everything.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great to be here. I'm going to, some of you know that I wrote some moon poems. Yeah. And it's November, so I'll read November 2016 and then December 2016 from the Moon Poem Collection. November 2016, Frosty Moon. Woolly Bear Caterpillar makes its way across the library parking lot, black on both ends and wide rust band in between. This is no bookworm. single-minded purpose to find a place to spin her cocoon and lie low till springtime. We head indoors and inward, turn on heat, return to our roots. Full frosty moon signals a season of transformation. The elements shape us by cold, snow, and want. Already we miss the sun and wait for spring. Woolly bear caterpillar emerges as an Isabella tiger moth. She unfolds her wet wings and spreads them to dry in the spring sun. Our own cocoon will also become too small, our transformation too great to hold us in. December 2016, full cold moon, the long night's full moon. The titles come from either the Farmer's Almanac or Native American. By the light of the full moon, see our shadows stretched into darkness. The fierce shadow seems infinite. Look closer and deeper at the shadow to see the teacher. The teacher is not the enemy. Invite wise ones out of the forest into the clearing where the humble wildflowers show their soft colors and sweeten the air. He says, and I'm making a mess of it, do here what you were sent to do. Use these short days to make the most of the sun, to take in beauty and wantonly scatter beauty back into the world. Learn from the bioluminescent creatures like deep sea fish, plankton, and firefly. We are luminous. We are one. We are beauty. We are love. And one last one. This is called Ferryman. This was in the Writer's Block Midwest Writing Center online magazine. And I submitted this in 2019 to Chamber Music Quad Cities. They had a project called Poetry to Song, and the whole project got tabled because of COVID in 2020, and I kind of didn't think about it too much. And then in September, got an email that it will be performed. It will happen in March of 2022, and that this piece did get accepted into the program. So yeah, pretty exciting. I'm not sure how many poems they are turning into song and putting to music, but it's pretty thrilling. I'm expected to be there and read the poem before they perform. And it's going to be at the Asbury Church in Bettendorf, the one with the double Methodist. Thank you. Stranded on this side of Siddhartha's river, I sat down, not under the Bodhi tree, but beneath a white oak. There I learned the lessons of the acorn, patience, and that small things can contain all. When I was no longer waiting, you came to ferry me across. Thank you.
Yeah. Super fantastic, congrats. That's very cool. I remember they reached out to us about that project to encourage people to submit, and I'm glad people like you did. I just actually got an email about that today. Congratulations, that's very cool. I'm excited to hear who all's involved. I think Beth Roberts might be involved. Yeah, I kind of think that she may be the one. I remember her saying something. So cool. Our next open mic reader is Mike Bales, who's always at the open mics. Please welcome back Mike Bales.
Good, thanks. thanks to the event, Ryan's had me at different ones, which has been helpful because I came out to the book about a year ago. I'm changing it up, reading from other things. The first poem's pretty light. The second poem's a little heavier, and I'll try to read a little bit of some lighter stuff after that. Someone at the workshop said that's the way you do it. You do a light to bring people in, you do heavy, then you read light. Always be like grief days where you'd see the tragedy play in the morning, the comedy in the afternoon, so you walk away happy. I've read some poems about small town life. This is out of my second book, The Rabbit House, which I got a little crazy with. I think someone wanted some kind of experimental poems, so I got a little crazy. And they've got all kinds of bands that play at this band shell and an ice cream social and things like this. I lived with someone, sometimes would take the dog and be wagging his tail in time with the music, which people would turn around and kind of watch. But this is a little bit of that. It's called The Band Plays. People stay in town to hear the high school band play on a Tuesday evening. Bold brass notes, crescendos mark the early evening gold. High school beauty queens, as if divas, pose on stage. And the one with the biggest family gets the most applause. Volunteers serve ice cream, cake, and pie when musicians break. Smiles and kind words offered for donations for the band. Sun to west, cast final light, and music fades. This is my small town dream, echoes of my reality, softest of solitude while I walk home. Thank you. Now this gets a little heavier. I do some good poetry writing for like contests and for like prompts. Prompts keep me writing more often than they ordinarily would. This is to write about a notable ship. The most notable ship was Tyranny. And I've been around a lot. I learned tricks of point of view, and I thought, who to tell it about or who do I look at? And this time I looked at the guy in the crow's nest. Thank heavens, some of the stuff in there is, thank heavens to a friend I know one of the big Titanic experts around here, Rick Sundin, who, when his mom was alive, he and his mom used to do performances at nursing homes, different places. She'd be on the zither, he'd be singing, he had a great voice about Titanic, but he's part of both Titanic societies, wrote amazing papers about Titanic that he'd send me to read. So I was privy to a lot of details. The night of the sinking, there are a lot of coincidences that you'll see. The sea was really smooth, which made it harder to see the iceberg. The binoculars were locked up. The crow's nest guy couldn't use it. But the really smooth sea maybe helped more survive when they were off the ship. And there are other weird coincidences too. From the crow's nest that April night. The night was perfect on this unsinkable boat. As the man in the crow's nest kept watch, he fumbled to find his binoculars, but they were gone. It's okay, he said, vowing he'd do the best he could. The vessel sailed, the Atlantic dark as the sky. The waning crescent moon had already set. The surface of the water was as smooth as a mirror, and as he blinked his eyes, he envisioned couples dancing in opulence below deck. Some maid had told him that they'd make the crossing in record time. He thought of his wife and children waiting back home, thinking once he'd made shore, he'd wire them to say, it was a glorious journey indeed. Until something loomed ahead like a ghost. He squinted and squinted to see what it was. He thought that it could be something or nothing. The maid had told him the waters were clear, but when he notified the captain, it was too late. He and 1,500 others died that April night. Few rescued. 3 nights later, the stars shone on his grave on the shores of Newfoundland. That's a heavy poem. That's when I get the moment of silence when something I do gets really heavy, which still a tragedy that lives. I'm just gonna read part of this. I listen to different podcasts. I actually participated in some when they have got open mics. And one person, her poems are so heavy, but she had little poems like glimpses of herself, and she seemed to put them right in the book to break it up. I don't know if I'd ever do anything like that. Some of my books get a little heavy, especially this one about Alzheimer's. But sometimes it can really lighten my mood if I think about freshman year in college. I started as an engineering major, which is terrible. Then when I took my first sociology class and my first psychology class, a light went off in me. So those led to some changes. I'm talking a lot, the psychology section I was in a really neat old building on the Iowa State campus. So I'll read like the first 5 passages. I don't know if I'll ever split them up and have individual pieces stuck in thing. We'll have to see. Stories of freshman psychology, old botany calls. First 20 students out the back of the lecture. This is number 1. The first 20 students out the back of the lecture hall become a small section of the classroom. Intimacy found. 2. My footsteps echo on wooden floors as old botany bears its ghost. 3. The backstory. It wasn't elective. An exploration of myself, a subject loved. 4. After dissonance with the girl I dated, I sat with someone else in the second row. 5. A graduate student stands in front, talks about concepts of life, the science of perceptions, and we look to each other. 6. I turn to the co-ed and we talk about our hometowns with smiles and nods. I wonder what it means. I'll stop at that. Thank you. Oh, man. I'll put it back on.
You're all right, man. Thanks, Mike. Our next open mic, actually our next 2 open mic readers. We have 2 open mic readers left. Both appear in one of our other publications. This is the Atlas 16. This is the journal produced by the young Roger. You can clap. You can give it up. It is one of 2 literary magazines that I know of in the Quad Cities, not produced by a college or a university or school of other kind. And it features some of the best young writers, I'd say, any damn where. But definitely around here for sure. So our next reader goes by Cass. And she plays a lot of music, and you should check her out. She's going to read a little bit now. So Cass, please come on up.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't like reading off my phone, but I didn't have time to print anything. No, because I'm gonna read new stuff. My first one is called Radio Waves. At 11:26 p.m., my phone buzzes between the mattress and my pink satin pillow. I know it's you, and I drink the text in with desperate greed. I want you to tell me anything, everything. I want you. The screen blares, I love you, and my eyes water with 1,000 I love yous, and my half-asleep fingers compose the same with ease. I love you too. I love you too. One shouldn't sleep with their phone so close to their sleeping head. Airwaves are killing people, maybe they're killing me, but I do. I fall asleep with his next messages of apologies and doubt and loneliness, and the radio waves underneath me, all slowly, softly killing me. In my dreams, we're at a party with loud people and expensive dresses, glittery chandeliers and shining champagne. I am grinning and drinking it in like Hollywood won't slowly, softly kill me. Your eyes have a sadness I can't place, sort of like you lost something on the way here, but you don't know when you lost it, and I don't know what was lost. You're sitting at an empty table, arms crossed, and a barrier between your body and the loud, glistening party. Your tender lips mouth, I want to leave, and my grinning voice says, dance with me, loosen up, dance with me. My jewelry clinks as I wrap my arms around your tense neck, and as I pull you, beg you up to dance, your hands go to my waist. They hold nothing but a hollowed shape. Dance with me, dance with me. I should have driven you home. In my dreams, I should have brought you home. Thank you. Find the next one. Next one's called How to Write About Love. How to write about love. 1. Breathe him in. Let the familiar scent of his body wash and braided hair swim through your nostrils. Savor the memory of olive oil and paprika from the night before when the scent burrows into your lungs. 2. Hold it there. Hold all he is in your core like you might forget him with the slightest exhale. You can't take the risk of losing a single molecule of the carbon dioxide he's gifted to this pocket of earth. You can't risk the slightest chance of losing him. 3. Let all he is consume you. The look of concentration in his plum eyes, the way they watch the highway lights smear in the night rain, his music that plays to the car speakers, the lyrics that remind you of last summer and the melodies that wet his doe eyes, the way he cries with his entire body, even when his sadness is small enough to contain into the car. 4. Drown in him. 5. Realize you cannot write about love in any way that makes sense. Not when you're surrounded by it. Not when it is everything he touches. Not when he's already the embodiment of it. Thank you. The last piece is called Parasite. When words are his, they are feathers. Fluffy white down from a beautiful swan that is not afraid of flight and not afraid of the water. His words are not afraid to skim the surface of the lake because they've never been thrown to kill and they've never sank with dead weight. His words exist to blaze gently, never burn, never sear. And he writes, the critters have burrowed under your lover's skin. And even his sadness is sweet, even his hurt is innocent. He writes, and the infection has begun. And he's not wrong, and it kills you. And the infection has begun, and he's not wrong, and it kills you. You put on his shirt when you get home. You pull it over your hair and let it fall off the slope of your breast, hanging loosely around your ribs. It's the one you've lived in since you came back from Chicago, because it smells like him and the life that you need, the life that's soberingly sweet and fills your veins with a warm sedation. When you're blanketed in his shirt, you shed the rest of the night's skin off. And nothing but your underwear and a piece of him, you dig through the pocket of your jeans you've thrown to the floor. Scrape out the wad of cash from the night and toss it underneath the bouquet on your dresser. There's piles of cash strung around the room and you couldn't give a shit if you lose any of it. You're ungrateful, irresponsible, and money is a disease. $50 for 3 original songs, or 15 minutes, or barely long enough to introduce yourself, but long enough for the vicious old drunk to yell from the bar and for you to flip him off from the stage. He drinks because his daughter's dead and you're a bitch. And you're a bitch, but still shut up, you're set. You throw your 220s and 2 crumpled up 5s to rest underneath the yellow daisies your love got you for your birthday, and beside the Polaroid of him, shirtless and getting ready in Chicago. You put on his shirt in a subtle desperation, longing for a reminder, but something is missing. You want to smell like him, like a life worth poetry, but you smell like cigarettes and men that don't listen to you. You reek of drunken greed and dirty money. He has flowers in your mouth, but you've let something crawl up through your roots. And his aroma is no match for the stench you keep making a home out of. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, trust me that I can sing, and follow me on Facebook under Cass Music.
definitely do that. I can vouch. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled. Keep playing shows so we can come see you play. Right on. Thank you. Mike Reader also featured in the Atlas 16 and the Atlas 15 and the Atlas 14 and probably other places. Did I hear you're in the new issue of Little Village? Yeah. Look at you. Yeah. Give it up for Charlie Heber Space. Charlie, come on down.
How I ended up there, I don't know. Hello, everyone. Exactly right. It was 2019, the summer of 2019, when we did the last indoor SPECTRA reading, because I was also at that one.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I have a couple pieces that I'll read. Only one of them can be found in the Atlas. It is the most recently published issue, which I think is 15. But it is called Slow Death. Trigger warning for depictions of death. I'm a dead horse, tired, heavy, and heaving. All the flies cling to me, the meaty sores of my legs, their home, and my hooves formed my body, too decayed to pick up my feet and trudge the fields. I'm a sleeping dog, let lie by the woman in the next room. She held me last night, here on the wood floors of her old house, with a fat lump on my neck from a chafing collar. I'll die in a week after I piss on her carpet. I'm your rotten fish, belly up in a bowl of murky water. All the rainbow pebbles are soaked up with my feces. And tomorrow, you'll hold my funeral in the bathroom and then wave goodbye as I'm forced through your plumbing. I'm the overgrown bush in an abandoned garden. The cigarette buds of passerby end up in my many flowers, and slowly I wilt into a heap of dead leaves, only to bloom and die again for the next several years until my roots go gooey and I can bloom no longer. Thank you. This next piece is called Sunday Night Dinner Guest. Okay. Charlie! The ghost of my father's voice shocks me out of my daze, his tone alert and urgent. As I look up from my frozen hands, searching for him, I realize he's not here. And there's not another man in the crowd of customers looking for me either. It was just a hallucination. The entire day has felt off balance and slow. People come in steadily, buying something to drink or getting an ice cream for their family, but no matter how fast business is, I'm stuck. Last night, I dreamt of playing tag with the neighborhood kids as my dad watched from the front porch. He called me in for dinner, and I waved goodbye to the faceless children from down the street. I ran to him, grabbed his hand, and we walked inside together. The table was set, and there were glasses of ice water to the right of our plates, both cups building condensation and dripping slowly in the summer heat of our house. It felt so real to eat with him, to drink with him, although my father didn't drink water in real life, only Diet Pepsi. Afterward, a record player, one that did not exist in our real house, started playing jazz music. My father loved jazz music. In my dream, he lifted my arms and wafted me through our kitchen into the living room and placed me delicately on the toes of his shoes, and we danced. He held my hands in his much larger and much more worn ones and waltzed me around on his old dress shoes. They had tassels on them and were torn slightly at the toes. He wore them everywhere and for everything. And there I was, stepping on them. He didn't mind though. Instead, he was happy. He laughed and laughed as I slipped and fell on the carpet. I wanted to cry for ruining our dance, but he smiled down at me and picked me up. He toted my slumped figure into bed and tucked me in. Very seldom did my father sing, but apparently this night warranted a lullaby. I have no idea why, but as my father sang to me in the dream, I was missing him. He was right in front of me, and I was missing him. I woke up feeling sad and drained and nostalgic. I don't have nice dreams very often. I'm still trying to memorize the feeling of being with my father again, even if it wasn't real. We didn't really dance jazz music, and he didn't really sing me a lullaby, but just for a moment. A part of me wishes that I could have stayed there in that softly constructed dream world where I was still a child and my father could still hold me, but every dream ends eventually. Okay. I have one final one. I just have to dig through all of my Google Docs and find it. Sorry. It's called Morning Routine. Here it is. Okay, great. A little bit of a pick-me-up. Each morning starts the same, with the same peeling back of the covers and the same removing myself from the bed. But lately, I've been sleeping on the floor, starting my day closer to the earth and ending it in the same position as a child. And when I wake up, I let out this wonderful sigh. And with it goes all the bleak, horrible things I've been containing. Thanks.
Give it up one more time for Charlie for all of my thank you. It's wonderful to hear you all read. And now as part of the program, we get into the features. These two beautiful books, these companion pieces. But they're such different books, right? And like I just before Laura and Aubrey come up to read, like first of all, we were taking submissions for the series. So if you would like to maybe have books that look beautiful like this, designed by the illustrious and brilliant Skylar Alexander, who we miss terribly and who's amazing in New York doing amazing things, whose book is about to come out. Speaking of book releases, yeah, that's the thing. So I was lucky enough to be among the editors for this. Sarah and I and Erica Eastland, who runs one of those other literary magazines that I mentioned called Sonder Midwest, and Kaylee Chi Keel, who both of whom had worked with young emerging writers in the past, but both of whom have done a lot of writing and editorial work on their own. Kaylee won a chapbook contest through the University of Iowa a couple years back, and does a lot with film, with performance. She's just sort of one of those people who's just multi-talented and really brilliant. And so we got all the submissions. We all read everything kind of off on our own. There was no sort of commentary. Just, pick the handful of manuscripts you feel like are the strongest. And it's prose, it's poetry, it's hybrid. And so we were looking for not just maybe your standard book. We were looking for a project. We were looking for something interesting. I know for me, at least, in everything that I read like this, I'm looking for an experience. I don't just want to read poems on a page. I want to like have my brain taken to a different place. I want to feel like I'm in a different terrain. Like, and I think poetry and a lot of hybrid text, I think, do that exceptionally well. So that's kind of what the mark that I was reading for. But we didn't. We just sort of trusted each other to like find the work that spoke to us that we thought was strongest and like most publication ready. And so we read everything. We took a couple months. We read everything diligently and made notes and all that stuff. And then we got together. And I think we had both of these books were on all of our shortlists immediately. So that made life easy. I came prepared to argue because in every editorial meeting I've ever been in, there's usually a little bit of like friendly arguing, constructive arguing, but some like disagreement and things like that. And like of the short list of finalists, which unfortunately I don't have in front of me, we all had most of the same finalists. It was really crazy how things kind of turned out. And like pretty quickly in talking about them, the series selects one book, but we leave the option open to maybe publish a second book. And it became pretty clear once we started talking about that we had two books that we really loved that were totally different, that were totally experiential in like different ways. And so we made the selection, but we also published a second book. I'm so glad that we did that. I feel really honored to have read your work and to like help to work with you all to like bring publication. I hope you like the finished product. You know, I hope you all like it, but I especially hope you do. Seriously, I know sometimes the presses, it's like we publish books, and sometimes our authors also like the books that we publish, and that's always struck me. That's a weird stance. It seems to me as any kind of press, and we are a very small press. But it strikes me if you're a press, like, shouldn't your authors also love the books that you're publishing? Like the finished product shouldn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, not just like, here's a cover that we're assigning your book. We are not interested in your input. No, we don't want that. That's not how we did this. So we tried to make it as a collaborative process as possible. I'm really proud of them. I hope you are as well, and I'm so excited that they're out in the world. Like tomorrow we'll be sending them out, and they'll be going to people who, if you pre-ordered them, I guess that's another thing. Stop by and we will give you your copies. But also, if you have manuscripts, we would love to read your work. We are really excited to read your work. Hit us, send us your weird, send us your strange. We are here for it. And then maybe next year around about this time, yes, there's submission information right there on a one sheet that Sarah has put together. Thank you, Sarah, for being awesome. So with that, it is now my pleasure to welcome these two brilliant writers to the stage. I think we'll start maybe with Aubrey. If that's okay. We kind of were like up in the air and they left it to me, and now I'm here and I hadn't made a decision. So we're all making decisions together. That's fun. I'm just gonna introduce you and get out of the way. No one wants to hear me talk anymore. So Aubrey Ryan is the author of Good Beast, which was the winner, is the winner of the Phantom Books Breitling Chapbook Prize. Her work has appeared in many places, including Best New Poets, Pinwheel, Anti, Matter, Hobart, Booth, New Madrid, El Aleph, Quarterly West, Diagram, the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation, which sounds really cool. I was going to ask you about that, and elsewhere. Her poems have been featured on Broadsides by Joseph Lappy, previously mentioned this evening, and Team Nerd Letterpress, which is a really great name for a letterpress or anything else. Aubrey is the winner of the Booth Poetry Prize and has been 3 times nominated for a Pushcart Prize. She lives in Iowa, just right over there, with her husband, 2 sons, a cat, and a garden. And it's my great pleasure to welcome my friend Aubrey Ryan. Aubrey.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm trying to remind myself to have like really good posture tonight, so I'm just gonna take the time to adjust. And yes, I cannot help but love this beautiful. It's so beautiful. When Skylar sent the cover design to me, I was like just so taken aback. And the chapbooks that MWC put out are just gorgeous. I remember the first one I ever saw was Stephen Freck's The Dark Villages of Childhood, and it is still this book cover that I think about. So yes, I'm just very, very happy about this book. So Mike Bales said to start with something light. So I'm trying to, I think my poems are really happy, but I've been told that that's not the case. So I'm going to start with the opening poem. And this is called I Am Telling You Stories. Most of the poems in this collection are sort of retellings or just re-looking at old myths or fairy tales. So this is I Am Telling You Stories. Believe me, you were in your home, in the kitchen of your home, a stove full of logs and a story. Once there was a woman whose belly curved like the long horizon, and she fell from the sky and gave birth to land. Once we were dirt, once salt of sea. Does this help your heart? Do you fear like me for your children? When no one knows we're land, when no one knows we're that star woman, fierce with seed, and telling you stories. The sky woman died and her heart became berries. Someday you'll be so old, your hand a cross between roots and sparrows. You'll have enough wood, or you will not. Your children will grow, or they will not. Here, a story where they are men with hands in loan, bluestem and dock. Here is a story. You are a prairie where your children stand rowdy for the sun. You were old and they lay you down. Your ribs petal open on the prairie, and where once was your heart, there's a bird telling stories. Children, there once was a woman. Children, there is earth here that made you. I think that's happy. So the next one I'll read is an older one. And this came from this exercise that I really love that about writing a love poem to something that you fear or the thing that you fear most. So this was, I wrote this after the election in 2016, but it has since like taken on some other forms. So it started out as like a love poem, and then now, I don't know, it's more spell maybe. So it is called Spells for Use Against the King. To gift you the stink of goats, to gift you bright way, to neon bright your mouth with sorrel and rind, and mouth for you so many hums. To hood you for bees, see apiary, see proper dress for a choir loud glade, you with your choir loud rage. I'll call you by name, I'll eye you with my arrow eyes. There's a world and much to know of it, and aren't you a connoisseur? Consider the oboe. Consider my cousin teaching oboe and kabul, all night carving reeds for the mouths of huge-eyed babes. Such babes. I used to lose her in the grainy alley of my backward thoughts. Used to find her burnt and bombed, but she's eating pomegranates. She's listening to Lisp. I take this to mean we own no truths at all. I know an old, old home down a road through trees, and days go like there's no switch. There's only sun and a slow curl away from sun. Lay down your beastly head. I'll tell you the kindest tale, the bone and shit tale, the worms with their dark and ardent maps of earth. We're dying fast as hawks, so go ahead and call me love and see the boy and Kabul as your face in my mirror. I'm holding that sight. Oh, you kicked hive, alive as all us living. So this next one is another King poem called The King. It's called The King now, but it started out as sort of another one of those love poems to something you're afraid of, which was Elon Musk. I was like deeply disturbed by the car in orbit. So this was my antidote to feeling that. Just like felt really uncomfortable about that. So this is called The King. The king sends a car to circle the sun. Here is a list of alternatives to cars: copper spoons, nesting bowls, a pair of Nikes set in bronze, an iron sheet that's been punctured with a map of the stars as seen from a farm in Vermont. This is a list for my husband, who does not have a horror of the car, driverless, in orbit, that emissary. Love, I've begun to understand your space dreams, absolute and other, unsurvivable origin. I once wanted to live for a month in the Arctic. I thought I'd return abiding in Iowa, an ecstasy of harbor, green far as the eye. Then birth was unsurvivable. Then the feeding of that child while keeping our climate in the thin bowl of my head, clatter, spiral, an orbiting thing. How do we live here? Don't I want a savior to bring us Mars? And don't I want him mortal, machineless, ever in the right image, made only and ever in my image? What is whimsy against a famine? You say whimsy and art, and this is not a fight, I'm listening. I see the opposite of art is not science, but the opposite of art is religion, even my religion, which is the religion of a dormouse worshiping belief. You see my whimsy? I'm aghast at the car, that car against my creed and making me a fundamentalist, just small clawed and burrowed in the floor of a forest that was a sea and is hurtling nowhere. Next poem is called Bluebeard, and it is about the story of Bluebeard. I don't know if anyone I see has nodding. So this came from a series of, a lot of these poems came from a project that Anna Richards and I did. Anna is an amazing artist. And we were looking at stories of old myths and that maybe could be looked at in a more feminist light. Just a little, tweak it a little. But Bluebeard is really already sort of a feminist fairy tale. So for those of you who don't know it, it's just the brief synopsis is a woman marries this old rich lord who says that she can have access to his whole castle while he's away. And he gives her his ring of keys, but she is not allowed to go into one room, which of course is the room she wants to go into. And in the room are the bodies of all his other wives. So this is called Bluebeard. Here, this is the story of the pretty girl and the lord who murders all his pretty brides. A long time ago and once, another land, once and far away. The girl has a face as pure as an egg and eyes like ponds with sky in them. We are with her. Let us say that virginity is not a construct, but a state of perfect preparation, a Pinterest cake, a pink and frosted conch. In the castle are 100 rooms and 100 keys, and he will give her the keys as he bends his great gray head to lock her gaze. And he will give her the rooms with one small key not to be used and one small room not to be breached, decreed. In his version of hell, his face is a wide open door. In hers, he is taking her apart and building her from the bones of other wives. We are with her, her hand and the key like a breaking egg. We know about this room. We've been inside for centuries. Let's propose that the girl can hear us, and then she can hear us. In this story, there is a key that bleeds and cannot be made clean. We are telling her down a long hall, and she is already broken, but we are telling her inside our vast and broken frames, ulna, radius, here is a story, and you are inside. Tiny bride, you are not it. I think we have time for one more. So we're supposed to end with a happy one too, right? A light one. So this is called Seascape. And this I wrote after learning there was all this new science about jellyfish where they discovered that jellyfish dream, and which is very strange. So it's called Seascape. We've a nightlight with multiple settings, neon to neon in sliding hues. I imagine the jellyfish switches to sleep like this. First, some peach, then aquamarine. When I say I want to be brainless, I mean my own is without lull, jalopy and ratchet. I shower for silence, static, and there I think salinity. Which man will own which aquifer? Which catchment system will keep us in green? Every single time I dream I'm Frodo, I go chicken shit and quick to Sauron. Sauron, quick kowtow, and the ring is a hot potato. So there's the state of my soul. I think we're all here in Germany. I think I'm making of my children 2 white palaces, bright with spears. I want to look through my skin and see the ocean, the way the jellyfish can see the ocean, absent a thing that sees. Where I plant kale, there used to be an ocean. There used to be an entity we all crawled from, every luminous thing intact.
Give it one more time for Aubrey. We have used that prompt in my EW. I think we did it this summer. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. We've been doing that for a while. And every time we do it, we show them the original version of the poem that appeared in Hobart. So now we have to show them the new version and explain some things, which is fine. But it's worked very well. And I know Skylar has used it as well. We actually talked, she's used it like that in New York. And so
Awesome.
thank you. It really is. It's like one of those, it's like, I think the best writing prompts are often like the most simple. And that one just nets results. I don't know, there's something about it that you actually take it serious and try to do that and write a love letter, important, whatever, however you want to define love, to something that you loathe or something that scares you or frightens you. Like, I think the more seriously you take it, the better the results that come out. Pro tip. Thank you again. And hey, Mike, I had not heard this reading of like nice things or asking for the group. What if you don't write happy poems? You just read the least happy poem first, and the second least happy poem. I'm asking for me. Anyway, I'm so excited. I've read this book so many times, and I've always like wondered what it would sound like aloud. And I'm so excited, so excited. Field notes recovered for the expedition to Devil's Peak. I can tell you, there's so many things I want to tell you about this book, but I kind of just want to introduce you and read. I will tell you this. I like in terms of like using found text. This is like one of my favorite books that I've ever read. I love found text. I love experiments. I love like crossouts and erasures and things like that. Are we fans of those things? Yeah, a little bit. They're so fun. And like one of the things I love about them, I think they're like really small d democratizing, and that you can take a text and you can manipulate it. You can play with it. There are all these things that I think we get taught to receive text and just sort of accept text. And then maybe analyze text, or maybe, you know, get subjective. I like it, I don't like it, whatever, kind of review language, that sort of stuff. But like, we participate in text, right? Everything that you've ever read exists in a little part because of you, the reader. And like, to me, this kind of writing takes that to sort of the nth degree and like makes new writing, makes new ideas and things like that. And we were just also there. There was nothing like this in the submissions that we read. Like this was completely like standalone. And so in that way, I think it really did. That's part of like this book made the selection kind of easy, if that makes sense. We were super dazzled by it, and I'm so excited to hear you read. So I'm just going to introduce it, or I'm going to introduce you, and you're going to read from the book. And I'm going to stop talking because I'm clearly forgetting how to do that. It's been a long week. And again, you don't have these books, you can get them right there where Sarah is. Sarah's super awesome, holding them up. Thank you, Sarah. You rule the school. So, our final reader for the evening, Laura A. Ring, is her book, Field Notes Recovered from the Expedition Devil's Peak, was selected as the inaugural winner of the Foster-Stahl chapbook competition. Couldn't be happier about that. Her poems have appeared or are forthcoming in Rhino, Scurrying, Rogue Agent, and Dream Pop, among other places. Laura holds a PhD in anthropology from the University of Chicago, where she serves as the librarian in charge of the Southern Asia and Anthropology collections. Her ethnography, Zenana, Everyday Peace, Everyday Peace in a Karachi apartment building, was published by Indiana University Press. Please welcome Laura Ring. Laura.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Wow, this is such an honor. I am a transplant to the Midwest. I'm from New England, and this series was specifically for Midwestern writers. I came here for graduate school. I came to Chicago decades ago. So I've lived in the Midwest now longer than I've lived in New England. And to win or to be selected for this series is just such a profound feeling of welcome for me. So I'm deeply grateful and I'm very honored. I will say also that I am so happy with this, and I am so grateful for the collaborative nature of the design, because if you look at the poems in here, the use of space is incredibly persnickety. And so like getting that exact once you put it in this format was no small feat. So I'm just deeply grateful for the patience and just the ability to go back and forth. And also the cover. I said to Skylar, can you do something that looks like it might have been an archaeological drawing from the 19th century? And she did it. I'm overjoyed with this. So, and thank you so much to everyone at the Midwest Writing Center for taking a chance on such a stone cold weirdo of a work, because it is an oddball work. It is a poetry fiction hybrid. I guess you could call it also a work of literary imposture in certain ways. And because of that, I'm going to read the editor's preface, which is not, let me explain. When I try to tell people what this book is about, I usually say it's a series of poetry sequences supported by a fictional critical apparatus, meaning like editor's preface and footnotes and etc. But they're really a pivotal part of the work, and they're in conversation with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the editor's preface, and then I'm going to pretty immediately read one of the pieces, and I still haven't decided which one. And then I want to tell you a little bit about how I came to write this. All right. Okay, field notes recovered from the expedition to Devil's Peak, editor's preface. I wish I had more light. The 1884 expedition to Domi and Wasit, or Devil's Peak, needs little introduction. Harriet Callis, archaeologist and alpinist, set off in search of the fabled burial hoards of Inyarluin, made famous by the ancient epic of the same name. Neither she nor any member of her team was ever seen again. The recovery of Callis's field notes a half-century later renewed interest in the ill-fated expedition, and brought with it a frenzy of new recovery missions, all to no end. In the intervening decades, the field notes themselves became the subject of wide-ranging interdisciplinary study. Though reduced by time and the elements to mere fragments, their status as evidence or knowledge was controversial at best. With the textual context lost, the challenge for the editor becomes one of arrangement. Some editors have chosen to order the field notes alphabetically, e.g. Marsden, 1954, and some by size, Sheffield, 1957, with the largest intact sections first, followed by ever briefer and more enigmatic fragments of text. As one might expect, the edition published by the Royal Antiquarian Society prioritized those fragments that seemed to describe mortuary contexts, while the Royal Geographical Society favored those that lent themselves to spatial or environmental analysis. Adventure writer S. Carmichael pieced together the fragments to craft a gruesome tale of discovery and death, in which Callis and her team plummet into a crevasse, only to find the very burial hoards they were seeking, rendering the field notes a kind of morbid catalog of the author's own inevitable doom. Ordering the fragments, then, reveals the editor's underlying pretensions to evidentiality or story, narrative or science. In her 1971 Sequences, published serially in the Journal of the Antiquarian Society, Ramberton, the poet R.H. considers instead what meaning may be found by placing the fragments in deliberate conversation with each other. Reception to this approach was decidedly mixed, and R.H. faced accusations of indecency by the various scientific societies for aestheticizing the field notes. Unmoved, the poet responded to her critics with a single verse from the epic. Sing, beloved, your words are a marked road. Sing for the lost. In this Jubilee edition, marking the 50th anniversary of their serial publication, we present for the first time the 5 sequences together and unabridged. Okay, I think I'm going to read you the first one, why not? This is sequence A, Song B. Staghorn, a feather covered, not yet grave. Solid, vertebral, a cloak of grass. Thus common, the original position of the body. Snowcap. Cranium, clavicle, counted. Wool can carry bone. Garments of shelter, the placement of the hands. I have seen bird shapes, half timbered, scatter into the salt. Juniper and leather, small finds, hearth and 2 wine bowls to be sieved, and knives too long with the city. Elm that measures of that pass, but rarely the darkness of a fixed place, of valleys red preparing. Mother, he had everything, while in life I want too many, too long. And footnote to that one. Soneby refers to the famous flower from the epic of Inarluin that is seen to hasten the spirit's journey to the afterlife. While the bulk of the epic is made up of metered couplets, these are punctuated by tercets, referred to in the critical literature as Soneby cycles, so named for their tendency to reference the eponymous plant. Soneby cycles are seen to foreshadow death, evoke loss, or signal close connection or kinship. So let me tell you a little bit about how I came to write this. I was working on a series called Imaginary Mountain Ranges. Now I mentioned that I'm from New England, I'm from Vermont, and Chicago is my home and I love Chicago, but mountains always find their way into my poems, probably like symbolizing something related to unresolved feelings while leaving home. I don't know, but so I have this entire series of prose poems, and they all are titled Range of Blank. So I have range of absence, range of attachment, range of shelter in place. And this started off as one of those. And I was writing notes for it, and I was writing it. I thought, oh, wow, this is becoming really plot-like. Maybe this is a short story. So I put it aside, and I just, worked on other things. Several months later, it was winter break, and I was at Powell's, which is a really great used bookstore in Hyde Park in Chicago. And I came across Anne Carson's translation of Sappho's Fragments. It's called If Not Winter. And I bought it, and I spent that entire vacation reading it, and then had that eureka moment where I thought, well, what if instead of thinking about a short story, what if I really leaned into the idea of the fragment? And that's what I did. And so even in writing these poems, I tried to mimic what it would be like if I'd actually found fragments. So I created lists, like my husband would know, there were pages and pages of word lists on the floor where I was sort of squatting and doing my work. And, drawn from vocabulary from archaeology and alpine sort of archaeological sites. And then I tried to piece them together. And it was a really liberating experience. So you've probably heard poets talk about the tyranny of the sentence, right? And I think there was something about the scaffolding of this story, this premise, this conceit that allowed me to let go of the sentence a little bit. Okay, so how am I doing my time? Good? Okay, so do I have room for two more or one more? Two more? Okay, so I'm going to read one called The Body, and then I'm going to read one called Found Wanting, and then I'm going to be done. Okay. This is sequence B, The Body. The body is oriented. After removal, the faces of the males still new. The body, a wide territory, tusk and vassal. The body is not limited, wood-clad, banqueting. The body, having been placed, amber, barrow, stone, the body, and barbs firing, and many abandoned enclosures. The body, sometimes broken, bit and cheek. The body, stripped to wolf tooth. The body, spear point harvested. Stave cut from roots, few retain their secrets. The body favors ornament, plates the gift of a round. Was said the body, threshed and supple, can carry the body at risk. Well above the body, sacred places crack the skin. From animal teeth and bark, we can map the body. Not even grave goods can patch the body. In a field, the body, unbaked clay. Way to enter the body, specimen, a sudden death. And here's the footnote for that. The words the body, alone or as part of longer phrases, appear in 46 of the recovered fragments, a startling number. In his 1998 study of the field notes, anthropologist Philippe Defoy describes this horror of bodily repetition as a dead weight haunting the text. Quote, for we cannot know in any given instance whether callus is referring to one body or many, end quote. The effect is deliberately magnified in RH's body sequence, which experiments with different forms of repetition to place the body in conversation with the broader corpus. Moreover, quote, the arrangement of the fragments on the page, Defoy writes, is a deliberate evocation of absence, the white space pointing to the absent text, but also perhaps to the absent body, both in a pragmatic sense, i.e., bodies that were never recovered, and in the Lacanian sense, the mother's body, reminding that all loss is originary. Mike is going to be very disappointed in me. I just, but what I will do, I'd like to end on a hopeful note. So I'm gonna read. It's mortuary context. What can I do? I'm gonna read sequence D, found wanting. And if you look at the book, the footnote for all of these, it usually is the super, script number is actually on the title, but I've left them as endnotes. But what I'm going to do is, for this one, I'm going to read the footnote first so that we can end where the poem ends, and that will end my reading. So this is sequence D, found wanting, and the footnote says, Callis made little effort to segregate scholarly data from subjective commentary in her field notes and other unpublished writings. A prodigious diarist, her earlier journals, now held by the Archive of the Antiquarian Society, Ramberton, display a similar mix of scientific observation with self-reflection. The editions published by the aforementioned learned societies have generally taken one of two approaches to this personal material, either stripping it out entirely, or in the case of Marsden, relegating it to a separate appendix. Sequence D marks the poet's attempt to foreground or restore this vanished authorial I. Sequence D, found wanting. 1. I am too long among the dead, delirious ruin. My most distorted articulations involve the body. I see not scars, but a seasoning of the limbs. Not death, but a bid for grave gifts. Even now I count the ribs with my fingers, though their number is not likely to change. 2. The people wanted to change. Red deer in the field, horn and bone headdress. What can keep us here at human scale? 3. Keep us, life, keep us open, an offering of beaded wrists. 4. Offering to trade her pain for hunger, I decided to study the body. 5. I decided to study you often closer, in winter, long ago, and as far. 6. Winter, a sad story, choices they made. See the pierced girdle. 7. See the ribs curved around the lineaments, small wreckage. In summer, a child was wanted. 8. Hearth was wanted. Cloak was wanted. I can't take it, mother. 9. I can't take this road. Not yet. 10. Yet there were gladness in birch, worked wood, dry land. We dig all evening for signs. Thank you.
Give it up one more time for Laura. It's so good. If you haven't picked up a copy of those books, you clearly should. They're available right there where Sarah is, along with other information about the anthology, information about membership, other things that we got going on. Come talk to us. Come talk. Now get your books signed. They might be hanging out for a minute or two. That's a cool thing to do. Thank you all so much for being here. Yeah, Helen. Sure.
I just want to say thank you to all of those who committed to this, and especially to two people who won. Dick would be so honored because he he thought so much of coming here to Ross House and reading. And the last thing that he actually did here was in May of 2019, when he had already been diagnosed with liver cancer, and we were already going to Iowa City, but he had been asked by River Action, Kathy Wine in Davenport, to do a poetry workshop. And so we came here and we did a poetry workshop right in this area right here. And so it's just so meaningful. That's why I'm living alone now in Davenport in our own house. We've been in for 51 years. But I had Ryan on the phone that I wasn't sure if I was over here, but today I just decided I wanted to. I was so impressed with your poetry, and the books are just wonderful. I can't thank you enough. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan. That's beautiful. Even the stick too. And you know, I know for me, I thought about Dick a lot through this whole process. When we pitched the series and we used to do a chat book contest a few years ago. We kind of like reconfigured it a little bit and kind of opened it up a little bit. But part of the reason we wanted to do that is to honor Dick and honor Mary, who we miss dearly. And that means the world. Thank you, Helen. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. And we'll keep doing. And we want to thank the Illinois, Illinois Humanities, Illinois Arts Council, Poetry Foundation, all of whom, along with the Legacy Society and Mary's Estate, helped make this happen. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Please come back. I don't know when the next time we'll be here, but we'll be here again doing something. Thank you, Ross Talks. We love you. You're all amazing. We'll be here for the next thing. Yeah, come talk to us and see us. Bye, Candice. Get home safe. We love you. Bye. Bye. People at home. Bye. Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I need to get more.
Yeah.
Laura, that was so good.
Thank you so much.
So much. I'm sorry, I did that.
I need to get more.
End meeting.